Chapter 21 Damn, have you been played? When? Writer's source. It's not a shame to say this. But it's definitely not a reason for peeping, especially when what he wrote is a small H text. Bajian stood up for only one reason. Azuki Yugao is still taking a bath. Well, Jiraiya, who traverses the major clubs, does not need such a low-end method. After Yi Bajian stood in front of him, he also seemed to lose interest. In the rest area next to Konoha Yu Izumi, two figures, one big and one small, are sitting on it. The wine gourd in front of him in front of Jiraiya, Bajian looked at the man earnestly with his shoulders folded. A very handsome man. The man who personally put an end to his heroic story. Yulong Angelica C, the sea does not welcome me Jiraiya. It was a tearful and heart-wrenching life. For Konoha, he's done ultimate. It is a pity that the full stop of Jiraiya hero story is not very satisfactory. Just like the upcoming Kyubi, Nine Tails Rebellion, he was not in the village by accident, and he always felt that something was missing. You're not old enough to drink. Wine gourd, Jiraiya smelled it and her eyes lit up, and it's still this kind of strong and outrageous wine. Jiraiya, who is inspired to visit major clubs, has a lot of insight into wine. Just by smelling it, she understands that this thing is not ordinary. Eight Swords did not speak. He is not the kind of person who is good at words, and more often he prefers to express his thoughts with actions. And Jiraiya also began to remain silent after taking a sip of ergotu. After all, Yahagi is not Uzumaki Naruto. There's nothing to talk about with a kid who catches himself peeping. But Jiraiya is obviously not the kind of person who can adapt to quietness and enjoy alcohol washing in the dark. Heroes like liveliness. Having a drink, with Yuhi's bright face, he suddenly thought of the little Yuhi in the clubhouse he had made an appointment with earlier. Cough, the wine is good. Looking at your boy is also a man of temperament, money and so on are a bit cliché, take a look at the latest work that hasn't been published yet. Jiraiya, who was eager to communicate with Xiao Yuhi in depth, left a book and turned away. Intimate Paradise. He picked it up and glanced at it, and Bajian calmly put it into Kabuto's loincloth. It was Jiraiya's stuff after all, and he wanted to see how it was different from the H book he remembered. Why can it be popular in the whole ninja world? Even Hatake Kakashi is obsessed. Standing up, the spiritual pressure fluctuations in his mind were gradually approaching. Bajian showed a calm smile and walked to the entrance of the female soup, standing still and waiting. 3 seconds later, the cute girl with purple hair lifted the curtain and walked out. But it seemed that the comfort brought by the bath made her a little tired, and with her eyes closed and yawning, she slammed her head into someone's arms. Open your eyes, look at each other, and run away like a frightened deer. It's him. He didn't even leave yet. Bath towel, Azuki Yugao's small face was slightly Yuhi. Clack. Very unfortunate. Because of the girl's collision, the intimacy paradise hidden in the Kabuto stall accidentally fell out. The confused girl lowered her head and looked over. When she saw the style of the bold woman on the cover, she was completely stunned. He actually likes reading books like this. The impression of the cold and warm man and the strong swordsman in the impression is a harbinger of collapse at this moment. Eight Swords was as calm as ever. He bent down and picked up the intimacy paradise, then reached out and patted Azuki Yugao's small face, as if testing the temperature, and put the hand that touched Azuki Yugao's face on his forehead to test it. Okay, no fever. Come on, I'll take you home. ... Weird. This is what Azuki Yugao is thinking at this moment. Strange indeed. At night, she actually agreed to a man with that kind of book in his arms to send her home. However, after catching the moonlight, the side face of the boy next to him could be clearly seen. The discordant scar on it also crashed into her heart. I want to know everything about him. Stiffly followed the Eight Swords and walked forward. Suddenly, the footsteps stopped, and a trace of confusion suddenly appeared on the young man's face. Turning his head, Bajian took a sigh of relief and looked at Azuki Yugao. Where is your home? Hateful. Have you been played? When? I was played. Played for a day today. Still unable to resist. At this moment, the girl shed tears of remorse. Regret your weakness. Just because he was too weak, he was played. I don't know where my house is, why are you still walking forward? At first, because she was thinking about things, she didn't care about the changes in the surrounding scenery, but now this is where she is almost walking to the forest of death. You wait for me. The indignant girl finally left a cruel word, and then ran away in a hurry. She swears that she will remember this humiliating day. The first time he was struck by swordsmanship, his body was completely broken. It was the first time I was invited by a man to take a bath together. Are you going to ask me to sleep with you next time? Boring. Eight Swords shook his head. When he said that, he really wanted to send Azuki Yugao home. It is night after all. During this time, Konoha really should have carved a few street signs saying it's dead at night, please be careful about Orochimaru. Yes. Orochimaru is grabbing the subject. Otherwise, do you think he was so kind to send the girl home? Sarah, I didn't expect that someone like you would be interested in women. Some people just can't resist talking. At the moment when Bajian sighed, Mr. Snake with a sack on his shoulder landed beside him. In the dead of night, please watch out for Orochimaru. ... Ask for flowers and tickets. Chapter 22. Sorry, this power, you don't understand. It seems that since the last conversation, Orochimaru has never treated the boy in front of him as an imp. This conclusion can be drawn from the analysis of the tone of his speech. Of course, this did not mean that Orochimaru put Yabajian in a position equal to his own. He doesn't deserve it. At least he doesn't deserve it now. Orochimaru, the Eight Swords at this moment are just amazing swordsmanship, and there are mysterious teenagers everywhere. Aren't you tired after following me for a long time? Bajian yawned and leaned against the tree calmly. No one can escape his perception. It was derived from Reiatsu fluctuations, a completely different energy from the ninja's breath and chakra. He is the god of death. He felt Orochimaru's Reiatsu fluctuations as early as when he left Uizumi. As expected of you, Bajian-kun. Without hesitating his admiring gaze, Orochimaru put down the sack on his shoulders, and the surprise in his eyes flashed away. If it was said that he was discovered by Bajian before, it can be said that he was careless and did not deliberately hide his breath too much. But now, he is working. In order not to reincarnate the end of the search for the right experiment. Once in the working state, he can turn into a cold-blooded snake and avoid all perception. This is how he survives. Whether it's chakra or breath, it's perfectly hidden. This is Konoha after all. His teacher is still strong, and Konoha's perception unit is not for nothing. In addition, there are a lot of test items that he has been looking for recently, so even Orochimaru has to work carefully. But even so, he was still discovered by the young man in front of him. Just an ordinary kid. Why? You can go beyond your comprehension time and time again. As far as he knows, the only person in the entire ninja world who has this kind of perception is the Kagura mind of the Uzumaki family. The legendary perception. Unfortunately, that clan has been wiped out. The young man in front of him had black hair and could never be an orphan of the Uzumaki clan. And his information is very clear, and there are no good ninjas in his ancestors. Bajian-kun, properly hide your edge, this will help your growth. Shaking his head, Orochimaru thought of the original intention of showing up to find each other. Someone has noticed you. Voice became deeper, and Orochimaru kindly reminded him. This time it was Bajian's turn to be strange. It seems that people like Orochimaru will never take the initiative to remind others of their situation. But he did say it. It's not like him. Don't get me wrong, Bajian-kun. Seeing the puzzled look in the eyes of the young man in front of him, Orochimaru smiled slightly and his eyes turned hideous. I've been watching a fit guy, all the time. That's your friend Uchiha Itachi. And your appearance broke my plan. I seem to see someone more suitable than Itachi. The fly in the ointment is that your eyes don't belong to Uchiha. But since you came into my field of vision, the kind of out-of-the-ordinary behavior that you've shown is very appealing to me. Which one is more suitable for you or Itachi makes me tangled. So I don't want a problem with the appliance until I figure out who's a better fit. Itachi has the Uchiha family as a backer, but you don't. So, be careful, this Konoha is darker than you see. From Orochimaru. But this reminder is really straightforward enough. In short, I have a crush on you, but whether you are qualified or not, I am still watching. You can't go wrong until the observation is clear. Hope you are careful. Eight Swords laughed. He got it. It seems that because of his existence, Orochimaru's attention has been diverted from Itachi. There's even a cultured container feel to it. Sasuke who defected to Konoha. My own container, I don't want others to touch it. Why is he looking at himself? Is it unusual to behave over and over again? Such a pity. His wishful thinking was somewhat wrong. Orochimaru, Bajian smiled lightly on his face. Thank you so much, but whether it's the third Hokage or Danzo who noticed me, I have nothing to do with me. It's you. Konoha's night patrol is about 100 meters away. Are you sure you won't be suspected of carrying that thing? Pointing to the distance, Eight Swords already sensed the reiatsu of the patrol. Patrol. It does seem to be this time. Orochimaru, who is familiar with Konoha's defense, nodded, and the curiosity in his eyes became stronger. Hachima-kun, can you tell me how this perception is achieved? Beyond your comprehension perception ability. Even if the breath and chakra are not leaked, they can still clearly detect the disturbance. Byakugan. No, his eyes are the iconic black pupils. The Uzumaki clan. Neither. What the hell is that? Bajian's body makes him long for it. Orochimaru is full of curiosity. Sorry, this power, you don't understand. He picked up the wine gourd and took a sip, giving Orochimaru a very seductive look, and the boy jumped up and disappeared into the training ground. Not long after, a patrol arrived as scheduled. Orochimaru, who was hiding behind the tree, came out. There was a crazy smile on his face. In this world, there is no power that I can't understand. I am Orochimaru. Bajian-kun, you are more worthy of study than Itachi. ... Ask for a ticket. Give me some. Chapter 23 Another Uchiha that returns. The spring sun is getting warmer. But the hidden undercurrent surging made the atmosphere of the whole village a little depressed. For example, the children who are still disappearing one after another. Also often heard that the guards of the Uchiha clan arrested so-and-so innocent passers-by. Are passers-by really innocent? Why would the guards arrest people if they did nothing wrong? What the villagers see and hear is only what others want them to hear and spread. That's all. Contradictions and conflicts will slowly expand in a repressed atmosphere. It has been a week since the opening of the ninja school. The students have adjusted to their new life. As Hachiken and Itachi expected, their lessons with Shadow Clone went quite smoothly. During the day, we sweat like rain in the training ground as usual. At night, I sit and chat with Itachi under the stars. By the way, I go to Wen Izumi to promote friendship. Bajian's life has become extraordinarily regular. The only difference is, his strength is steadily growing every day. The first template of the King of Flat Chopping, the complete Saraki Kenpachi unlocking progress from the world of the God of Death, has reached 7%. 3% progress left to accept the next template. The next activation of the flat cut feature will come when the second template reaches 5%. Eight Swords are looking forward to this. The flat cutting feature is not unique. The daily tasks have not changed much. With 2,000 slashes a day, Bajian has completely adapted to this training method. Orochimaru didn't take seriously what Orochimaru said last time about peeping at the 8 swords. The days go on. Uchiha tribe. In the cherry blossom forest outside the patriarch's house, several figures were sitting around a round table. The spring equinox is the best time to enjoy the cherry blossoms. I vaguely remember that when I came last time, these cherry blossoms were still in buds, but now they have fully bloomed. Such a scene was something Bajian had never seen in his previous life. Cherry blossoms are beautiful. Leaning under the tree and drinking a sip of erguotu comfortably, it is a different kind of enjoyment. I don't know why, but your friend gives me a very free and easy feeling. Several people were sitting at the round table. The boy who spoke looked a little unfamiliar. Has the nose of a boy from the Uchiha clan, and he wears a dark high-necked short-sleeved top, triangular protective gear, pants of the same color, leggings, and a small dagger on his back. His name is Uchiha Shisui. Shisui. Heart like Shisui. But his personality doesn't match his name at all. Uchiha family boy who is still alive and full of sunshine to this day. At this time, he had just returned from the battlefield. Speaking of the battlefield, his shot would not necessarily hurt anyone. Just one look, Shisui, who made out at the border of Kurigakure village, give up his mission. His demonic illusion is strong to a certain extent. Itachi didn't say anything. The kind of temperament that Bajian carried was something he couldn't learn. But that didn't stop him from introducing his best friend to his mentor. 2 Uchihas, a boy with a foreign surname. Of course, there were 2 quiet girls beside them. Uchiha Izumi and Izuki Yugao. The same reason that Bajian came here, Izuki Yugao was invited by Izumi to come to the Uchiha family to enjoy the cherry blossoms. Yugao is somewhat restrained. After all, this was the first time she came to Uchiha's clan. With Izumi for so long, she has some doubts. Uchiha family that the outside world said was arrogant and rude, she didn't see it here. Does this kind of rumor sound a little imprudent to directly deny a family based on someone's arrogance? She does not know. Quietly watching Sakura drinking tea, and watching the boy under Sakura from the corner of his eyes. Now she has a little more satisfaction in her heart. Have a drink. Stretching, Bajian sat beside Shisui, and handed his wine gourd with some admiration in his eyes. Uchiha Shisui, cheerful lad. Descendants of Uchiha Kagami. The strongest Koto Amatsukami, known as the strongest demonic illusion. That. Looking at the wine gourd in front of him, Shisui's mouth twitched. After all the calculations, he didn't expect this Itachi to hang on his mouth. The first sentence between his best friend and himself was this. Drink it, Shisui. Itachi patted Shisui on the shoulder with a look of strong affirmation and encouragement. He was inconvenient to say some things. He understands that Bajian is the kind of man who shows his attitude with his actions. The wine handed over represents love. If you drink it today, you even know each other. To make an invitation again in the future is to acknowledge your existence. Very simple and rude people. Even the same character as his moves, the same straight up and down. Silence for a few seconds. Shisui smiled, took the wine gourd, raised his neck and sighed hard. There is no doubt that Erguotu's strong degree of scorching made his throat fire. I heard that your swordsmanship is good. Putting down the wine gourd and gasping for breath, Shisui stared straight at Bajian. The swordsmanship that Itachi admires. He would love to see it. Come on, make a gesture. Then Jujin, Shisui took out a small knife and walked under the cherry tree. ... Tweet beating the table, don't give a single one, crying. Chapter 24. I long for a worthy opponent. Shisui senpai really is. Uchiha Izumi sighed slightly when he saw Shisui's high fighting spirit. In her opinion, this kind of behavior is completely bullying. That's right, although Yabajian is a man recognized by Itachi, A week has passed, and the students in their class have not found anything special about that boy. As always, fell asleep in class. Although the first round of the entrance examination has not yet been conducted, no one is optimistic about him. Lazy behavior in class is not recognized by teachers and peers. The tail of the crane is no doubt. And Shisui Senpai is already a hero who came back from the battlefield. The hero of the Uchiha clan. In this capacity to challenge a child who has just entered school. Isn't this bullying? Izumi, what you're looking at is still too shallow. Azuki Yugao shook his head, not to mention, if it's just a sword fight, I think Yi's chances of winning are very good. Are you brainwashed? Izumi tugged at Azuki Yugao's cuff with a question mark on his face. Hey, did you have other thoughts after being invited to take a shower? Upon hearing this, Azuki Yugao was shocked and quickly covered Izumi's small mouth. How did you know about this kind of thing? Hee, we slept in the same bed last night. Izumi sneered and ripped off the jade hand covering his mouth. I said Yugao, it's okay to grab my quilt while you're sleeping, and you can say that guy's name at least 100 times. What else do you say next time I ask you to take a bath and return your favor? I think you're just dazed. Yes. Because there is no class today, and Azuki Yugao has been invited to the Uchiha family's clan to enjoy the cherry blossoms, Izumi simply took Azuki Yugao back to his home last night. Maybe that Azuki Yugao was a little stimulated by the 8 swords last time, and she still remembers the scene until now. It is normal behavior to dream about a dream. But the sleep talk was overheard by Izumi, obviously it became not so normal. I said everything. Yugao's small face communicated with Yuhi. If it wasn't for the purple hair covering her ears, she would have completely exposed her already shameless demeanor. Tisk tisk, I won't say anything else, some can't be said, but I have a problem. Izumi pouted, and the little girl had a strong curiosity in her eyes. Yugao, the boy. You know, what's the difference? That's what you know. God, what I know. Azuki Yugao was completely dizzy. How she should explain it was a misunderstanding. It's really just a matter of simply taking a bath together, but it's not about taking a bath together. And you're talking like I've seen everything. Don't underestimate the precociousness of girls in this world. A good feeling is only a momentary thing. Or maybe it was just a curiosity, and it went out of control from then on. 2 examples. Hinata, Sakura. A guardian who has watched Naruto's back silently for many years, and is the only guardian who dares to stand up to protect the other side in a desperate situation. A full-time dog-licking dog who is okay with Naruto and okay with Sasuke, and finally got the love he wanted. They all succeeded. However, the girly heart of 8 trigrams does not seem to have much to do with the 2 opponents on the field. The 8 swords holding the sword have completely entered the state. At this moment, the person in front of him is the famous Shisui. Although it is only a confrontation on swordsmanship. But Shisui is the real powerhouse who has returned from the battlefield. Knife for several years. At this moment, the excitement suddenly erupted. The body is shaking. It's not fear, but the fighting intent and excitement hidden in the wild heart. The fighting spirit is surging. Raising his hand, he threw the wine gourd to Itachi, who was at the table not far behind. Yi Bajian took the hilt. I long for a worthy opponent. Roar. No heart-rending roar. But Shisui looked at the boy in front of him, as if he had heard the roar from his heart. In his heart, there lives a beast. I actually look forward to Jian-seng's full strength. Catching the wine gourd of 8 swords, Itachi's chest heaved up and down. For a long time, he has cultivated and grown together with Bajian as a sparring partner. But from the beginning to the end, he did not see where the apex of that person was. That's an insurmountable gulf. As for that day, Bajian fainted after smashing the rockery. Itachi didn't think that was the power of Bajian. After his judgment, it seems that the body's chakra is exhausted. How strong is he? As a friend, Itachi wanted to know that too. I want to surpass the 8 swords and get his affirmation and recognition. That's the real friend. Swish. The sword intent was vertical and horizontal, and the beast waved the sharp blade in its hand, which was more like a sharp claw extending from the palm. The seemingly ordinary flat cut gave Shisui a great sense of oppression. This is a man who is truly obsessed with kendo. Instant, Shisui understood what Itachi had told him before. In terms of kendo, no one will be able to surpass him in the future. I believe that the name Yi Bajian will go down in history. Clang tilde. The sound of golden iron chirping came. The wind picked up and the cherry blossoms splashed. 2 girls who were addicted to 8 trigrams turned their heads. At that moment, the figure of the young man slashing with a knife was imprinted in his heart. They seemed to be drunk. ... Woo meow tilde. Ask for a ticket. Chapter 25. Be sure to maintain your friendship with him. Sorry, because it's a little late to deal with things in the clan. Not far from the cherry blossom forest, a rude man walked up to his wife and looked softly at the belly that was gradually protruding. As the patriarch, in his capacity, there is no need to say such apologies to his wife. But today's day is different. In the morning, I have already agreed to watch the cherry blossoms together. Usually at this time, his wife would only lean on his shoulder weakly. It's just that she is obviously different today. He was staring blankly at the cherry blossom forest. Her gaze, Uchiha Fugaku's pupils shrank suddenly, and 3 orangutan Yuhi's Tomo slowly emerged. In the cherry blossom forest, 2 figures seemed to be dancing, and the staggered figures sometimes affect the cherry blossoms falling in the wind. If you don't turn on Sharingan, you will even be unable to keep up with their movements. Uchiha Shisui. The instant Shisui of teenage fame. Who is the other? That is Itachi's friend. Yi Bajian turned out to be him. How is this kind of swordsmanship possible? Shisui to such an extent with swordsmanship. How old is he? You know, that's Uchiha's instant Shisui. Astonished, shocked. After more than 10 seconds, he finally came out of that emotion. 3 tomo slowly disappeared in the pupil. At this moment, he seemed to see something. That is the potential of that young man, a unique power. Itachi made a good friend. Smile on his face, Fugaku suddenly said these words. Makoto next to him also recovered from the shock and nodded as he should. From her point of view, it's a good thing that such a good boy is Itachi's friend. But Fugaku's idea is fundamentally different from Makoto's. Friendships cultivated from childhood are the strongest. What Fugaku saw was that in the future, a terrifying swordsman comparable to White Fang was on the side of the Uchiha clan. He looked further. ... At dusk, cherry blossoms dance. The small discussion had already ended, and after spending a whole day relaxing in the Uchiha clan, Bajian and Azuki Yugao were sent to the outside of the Uchiha clan's clan by Itachi and a few others. Aren't you going to take a bath? It's true that I drank a lot today, and Bajian himself was a little drunk. With Shisui has really improved Bajian a lot. That's a fighting technique. This kind of thing can only be accumulated after a lot of battles. This invaluable fighting skill comes in handy when the flat-cut template of the 8 swords has grown steadily. The battle is unwinnable. Because this is just an ordinary sparring, it is just a sparring that allows the two to understand each other better. Shisui also felt it from the battle. If he really wanted to find out where the apex of the 8 swords was, he had to really fight. His knife is also a murder knife. Sorry Bajian. Itachi shook his head embarrassedly. Just now, my father asked me to inform me that I was going to go there. Let's do it another day. Talk about taking a bath. Azuki Yugao, who was beside Bajian, suddenly twitched, and then carefully glanced at Uchiha Izumi who was winking at him. She really thinks crooked again. Azuki Yugao's small face Wei Yuhi. Hey, make sure to send our Miss Yugao home safely. Izumi was much more generous than Yugao, so he naturally patted Bajian on the shoulder and ordered. It was already night, and it was the boy's duty to escort the girl home. Nodded calmly, pulled Yugao's small hand and turned to leave. The gesture of holding hands was extremely natural and skillful, as if it should have been done. As he moved forward, he seemed to be talking again. Looking at the back of the two, Uchiha Izumi pricked up his ears, and finally, with her unremitting efforts, he heard a few words. "Let's go. I heard that there are very few people in Izumi today. Let's go soak for a while." Well. Sure enough. Azumi's breathing was short, as if she had discovered the scene of the rape. ... Come on. Ancestral Hall. The sacred place of the Matsuri ancestors of the Uchiha clan. It seems that every time there is something important, Fugaku will meet each other here, which is a little solemn. Looking at the spiritual seat in the shrine with his hands behind his back, Fugaku said calmly. Itachi, who was behind him, hummed and knelt on the ground. He had great respect for his father as the patriarch. At least this time. In his opinion, there is no doubt that the father can lead the Uchiha family to prosperity. Your friend is very nice. Fugaku is a guy who doesn't like to talk nonsense. Turn around and go straight to the point. The swordsmanship showdown under the cherry tree, he could see it clearly. Jianzhang, you have been praised by your father. Itachi showed a relieved smile. Obviously, he was very happy that Bajian could be praised by his stern father. It's like being praised as yourself. Then, for the Uchiha clan, Itachi. Be sure to maintain your friendship with him. Fugaku's conversation changed, and Itachi was suddenly stunned. What did your father say? The young Itachi was a little surprised. Father, my friendship with Yi, and my family. You are listening. Fugaku said lightly. He deserves it. I asked. Not this. Father. Itachi smiled bitterly, but did not continue to refute after all. He means. The friendship between two people is never mixed with the feelings of a family. Regardless of whether there is a clan, Bajian is still his friend. But if this kind of purpose is mixed in, this pure friendship has been tarnished. Father. What are you thinking? Itachi stared at the back, and his eyes finally fell on the standing stone tablet. ... Well, ask for a ticket. The 5th update is completed, and the update will be sent later. Chapter 26. The gap between you and him is like a gulf. Under the moon. Two figures walked slowly down the streets of Konoha. A man and a woman, with different minds. Gust of breeze hit, and Azuki Yugao, who had just soaked in when Izumi, trembled slightly, and seemed to feel a little chill. The boy next to him didn't say anything, and didn't mean to ask. The cape that Itachi gave him when he left the Uchiha clan directly from his shoulders, and then wrapped it lightly around Azuki Yugao's body. Without expressing unnecessary nonsense, they took the girl's shoulders into his arms, and the two continued to walk down the street. Very warm. This is the first time I feel so reliable. The girl who didn't know how to refuse looked at all this ignorantly. It seems so natural. It was as if he should have leaned against each other's arms to keep warm. Azuki Yugao's home is located in an ordinary residential area of Konoha. However, each generation of their family belongs to the backbone of Konoha, inheriting the Konoha style of swordsmanship. In this generation, only Yugao is a girl, but her strength did not disappoint her old father. Walking through the last street, ahead, is the girl's home. Stopping, Bajian's eyes looked over, and the next moment he raised his brows slightly. A thin figure was squatting and waiting there. 8 swords know this man. 6 seedling Moonlight Hayate. There is some connection with Azuki Yugao in the original work. When he saw the appearance of Bajian and Azuki Yugao at the moment, a very abnormal tide Yuhi appeared on his pale face. Breathing has also become rapid. Obviously, the sight in front of him stimulated him, who was not very healthy since he was a child. Moonlight Hayate. The dragon role in the original work, the strength is only in the special Jonin. Died on the eve of Konoha's collapse plan. Just glanced at him, and Bajian lost interest and looked back. Care of himself, he took Azuki Yugao to the door of her house. Watching the girl walk in, Bajian turned around and left without looking at Moonlight Hayate again. As early as the moment he stepped into the bathhouse with Azuki Yugao, Moonlight Hayate was already a loser. For losers, there is no mercy, and no deliberate indifference. If the other party is still a man, at this moment, he will probably block his way and want to challenge. But he wasn't after all. He watched Bajian leave the alley in a silent state, but the indifference that the man left him made his heart struggle extremely. Left, Moonlight Hayate looked at the door of Azuki Yugao's house that suddenly loosened. Slowly opening it, the girl inside was holding the cloak with an apologetic face. She walked in so fast just now that she forgot that she was still wearing someone else's clothes. But when he came out, he didn't see Bajian, and he wanted to take a look at him. The somewhat disappointed Yugao sighed and looked at Hayate, the Moonlight, with questioning eyes. Why? After struggling to utter 3 words, Moonlight Hayate seemed a little excited. What why? Azuki Yugao has some doubts. You will choose him, a trash who only knows how to sleep in class, you should know. It seems that in the eyes of Moonlight Hayate, Azuki Yugao has long been fond of himself. But now everything is different. The shocking question made Azuki Yugao's expression instantly indifferent. Shut up. Interrupting the other party's words, the girl touched the cloak in her arms. Remember, the gap between you and him is like a gulf. He's not something you can slander either. Also, please don't block my door and pester me when I come back. Although he doesn't say it, I understand that he will be unhappy if he sees it. That's it. Door. Azuki Yugao returned to his home. What Hayate said to Moonlight was more like what he said to himself, at the moment when he put on his cape. She has already made up her mind. In this life, she will try her best to catch up with the 8 swords. Phew. Familiar training ground. I have been admiring the cherry blossoms during the day, and the practice of Bajian is obviously not completed. The daily task will be refreshed after the early morning. If it is not completed, Bajian will probably not sleep well. 0.2% progress bar. Although not many, but each time is a very real improvement. With Shisui has gained a lot of new hacking skills, and he needs to make some more accurate classification and application of these skills. Although it is an ordinary hack, it still has skills. The extra movement when swinging the knife will make the attack a little slower, and the short gap will also be caught by the master to preemptively attack. This is what Bajian realized today. Instant Shisui, the strength is outrageous. He obviously wouldn't use his full strength in the fight against Bajian, at least he didn't even use the Shunshu technique. It's still far. If it is just template power, he is indeed very strong, but his age is here, and his combat power is also restricted. The evil spirit of the world of death, Kenpachi Zakiji's power is extremely violent and wild. It was a Bankai after that, so violent that his own body could not control it, and the terrifying power that would tear his body apart. Taking a deep breath, Bajian began to practice. And just as he swung the knife, a green shadow fell from the sky. 9997. 9998. 9999. Puff. Simple and unpretentious fell off the stake. The man in the green tights was not depressed, and waved his arms fiercely, looking very excited. Failed 10,000 handstand jumps. 2,000 side kicks instead. The corners of his mouth twitched, and Bajian shook his head. He even suspected that this fellow failed deliberately, and then added training items to himself. Might guy. If he came, the night would not be so boring. Swish. The hacking continues. Under the moonlight, the two figures started a strange training in the training ground. A willow tree that was madly kicking with his feet was gasping for breath. The other waved the knife, as if the master had a certain rhythm and was tireless. Boom. Swish. The practice symphony sounded. The night has come completely. ... Plus more delivered. Thank you readers for your flowers and tickets. Chapter 27 What is he? Chapter 27 What is he? Crash. The river rushes. It is impossible to verify the source of this river named Nanhi. But it has witnessed a lot. There is something hidden in the ninja world. Quietly leaning on the edge of the river, Bajian gently threw a stone into the river. Not because you want to lose it. Simply because, the two founders of Konoha, Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara, like him, had drifted against the river a few decades ago. They are still urinating inside than in the past, and it will be farther to see who is squatting. Another new day. There were two more figures beside Nanhi River. Piss. Patting Itachi on the shoulder, Hachiken yawned. Finally came to this familiar river, he felt a little emotional for a while. A famous river in the original. Two Uchihas also begins completely here. The end result is always regrettable. Shisui jumped down, leaving only Mangekyo with Koto Amatsukami demonic illusion. However, his ideal was not realized after all. Uchiha and Konoha, Itachi can only choose one. If there is no appearance of the Eight Swords, it is estimated that the story will still develop like the original. But now Hachiken is standing here, next to his friend Uchiha Itachi. Two Uchihas in Nangagawa is destined to have one more person. And what will happen to the Uchiha family, and what will Itachi do? Bajian has the power to change everything. But this time is too early. After all, the Kyuubi, Nine Tails, chaos has not happened yet. So the Konoha executives have not yet cast the blame for the control of Kyuubi, Nine Tails, on Uchiha. There is no reason to deal with the Uchiha clan in a big way. Uchiha, still located in the center of the village, is normal except for the increasingly fierce friction with the village. What? Itachi was a little puzzled. After looking at the Eight Swords that had untied his belt, he knew it, and quickly turned his head away without daring to look at it. The shy teenager as always, or after watching it, will have an emotion called envy of his friend's kidney function. Crash. Doing the same thing as Senju Hashirama and Madara, Heiken didn't feel anything special. He never thought of surpassing a person by learning from other people's movements. Because when you think about surpassing a person, you have already lost. Yi Bajian is Yi Bajian. Even if it is beyond, it is someone else to surpass him. Itachi was accustomed to Bajian's special actions, and he slapped it when he slapped it. It's no big deal, but it's impossible for him to learn Bajian's appearance and have a hot bath. He is the eldest young master of the Uchiha clan, and he still has such qualities. Shisui, who had just dived into the river to fish, had a head emerge from the water, his face turned green, and the color was very similar to his Susanoo. This fish is not edible. Throwing away the poor fish, Shisui sighed and swam back to shore. Came out for a picnic today. It's not that he is very busy. After all, he has just returned from the battlefield, and Danzo has not arranged other tasks for the time being. Invite your friends to relax in the wild and enjoy a peaceful time. This is Shisui's greatest happiness. You know Eight Swords, I have a mission. That's watching you. I'm guessing that Lord Danzo meant to suck you into the roots. Shaking his wet hair, Shisui sat down beside Hachiken and said. Just back in Konoha, Danzo really has no other assignments scheduled. But there is only one point, and that is to observe this young man named Yi Bajian in secret. Think with your butt to know what the purpose of the observation is. As a friend, there is no need to hide this kind of thing from Bajian. If you succeed, you will be a colleague in the future. If you fail, you will know about it sooner or later. So Shisui said it. From the beginning, when Orochimaru asked Danzo for information on the 8 swords, he had noticed this unusual boy. Danzo has a pervert's desire for control for such a high-potential child. Absorbed into the roots. However, the so-called absorption is a bit unpleasant, that is, forced binding. The brand on the root is engraved, and the seal on the bottom is called the technique of rooting out the tongue and vortex. From now on, I will abandon my feelings. Not all root members can be as free and easy as Shisui. What is he? Calmly crushing the stone that was about to be thrown into Nanhi River in his hand, Bajian's tone was cold and scary. Shish. Shisui was already stunned, and hurriedly put his index finger on his lips to signal Bajian to keep silent. As a member of the Roots, he too understands the extent of the Roots' control over the village. If these words flow into Lord Danzo's ears, trouble is coming. What did you say? You were too careless. A wry smile, Shisui sighed. It seemed that Danzo-sama's idea was going to fail. Bajian has no interest in the root. Of course, he and Yangguan didn't know the consequences of rejecting the invitation of the root. Fortunately, the current Danzo only instructed Shisui to observe the 8 swords, and it has not yet reached the point of that showdown. Itachi blinked next to him, but he didn't hear anything else. But it seems. Jian sang, why do you have such a big opinion on that guy named Danzo? The young Itachi seemed to be a little confused. Don't worry, you will have a greater opinion of him in the future. Hachiken chuckled lightly, and placed his index finger on Itachi's forehead. Let Itachi, the Uchiha clan, monitor Uchiha. It's odd that the opinion can be small. Well, practice with me. Since it's inevitable to be noticed, let's play big. Knife, hack. There was a gleam in Bajian's eyes. Itachi, graduate with me in 3 days. ... I don't know why I added more. Gone. Chapter 28. The time of comfort is over. Bajian, in fact, we haven't leaked the thing about using Shadow Clone in class, so there's no need to be so anxious, right? The weekend off is over. Today is the second week of classes for the new students at Ninja School. At the end of school last Friday, Ryuji Yamazaki, the teacher of the elite class, said that there will be an entrance exam starting in the second week. In addition to some basic theories, there is also the master level of the 3-body technique to analyze the talents of these children. Of course, shuriken and actual combat exercises will also begin. Early in the morning, he came to the school gate and waited. Itachi looked at the calm Jianzang and asked his question in confusion. Yes. Shadow Clone goes to school, they go to the training ground to practice, and it seems like it will go on for a while. At least they can train in comfort until Shadow Clone leaks. Don't underestimate Konoha, and don't underestimate Hokage. 8 Swords raised his head lightly and looked at the location of the Hokage building. In it, how the 2 Hokages decided Konoha developed, he doesn't know. But Orochimaru once mentioned that someone has noticed himself. So it is not certain whether the 3 generations of telescope techniques have found the problem, and there is no need to guess. Plus what Shisui said yesterday, that Danzo intentionally got him into the root kind of thing. He has his own plans. The time of ease has passed. Rubbing Itachi's hair, Hachiken sighed. Starting this year, the village will be a mess. You mean? Itachi's understanding is not bad, and he instantly understood what the words of the 8 swords meant. And most importantly, I don't want to be a kid who hasn't tasted blood when disaster strikes. Step by step to the closed school gate, Bajian took a deep breath. The 8 inner gates. The 9th school gate, open. Boom. With the power of the evil spirit and a roar, the school gate in front of him was kicked to pieces in an instant. Weasel was stunned. Smashing the door of the school, is this also a way of catharsis for the 8 swords? Don't ask, it's handsome if you ask, and you have to make a fuss before graduation. Clapping his hands, Bajian breathed a sigh of relief. Looking away, Itachi didn't know what to say. It seemed that this man always did what he wanted to do, and he always had his own reasons. Also, what was the disaster mentioned by the 8 swords earlier? Ninja school, elite class. Class time has come. However, the children were discussing a lot, and the topics of discussion were not without today's entrance examination and the question of who broke the school's gate. Itachi sat quietly beside Bajian and waited silently. All the 8 swords have their own arrangements, he just needs to follow behind. The difference is that in the past, he and Bajian were both sweating on the training ground, but today they sat in the chair honestly, without the nervousness of skipping classes. A figure suddenly approached. Itachi looked around, and saw the purple-haired girl approaching Jianzhang. "I'll give you the clothes back." Holding the cloak with a slight fragrance, Azuki Yugao's face was slightly yuhi, wash it clean. This cloak always feels a little familiar. Glancing at the vaguely visible Uchiha emblem on the cape, Itachi suddenly realized. Wasn't that the night that I was afraid that Bajian would catch a cold when he came home at night, and personally approved it on him? How did it get to Azuki Yugao? And listening to the meaning of her words, it is obvious that she has been washed. 8 swords and Yugao. It looks like a good match. But, why did I feel a little uncomfortable all of a sudden? Probably, it was the clothes I gave to Jianzhang. With a snort, Itachi was not thinking about those strange questions. Taking the cape that was handed over, the special fragrance on it made Bajian a little puzzled. This is not the case with Konoha laundry detergent. Always feels similar to the smell on Azuki Yugao. Shaking his head, he said thank you Bajian for continuing to close his eyes and rest. The purple-haired girl seemed a little disappointed, sighed and came to the vacant seat next to her. Hey, have you completely fallen? However, my best friend Uchiha Izumi started to wink at her again. Can't stand it. The girl gave the other party a shy glance, but at the moment when she wanted to deny it, she suddenly nodded dazedly. Did she admit it? Izumi opened his mouth, but in the end did not continue to tease. Yes. She has admitted it, so how can she joke about it? Cough cough. With a strong cough, Chunin Yamazaki Ryuji, the instructor of the elite class, walked into the classroom, and the atmosphere in the class quieted down the next moment. Obviously, after a week, this stern and outrageous teacher is the nightmare of all freshmen. Everyone come with me and prepare for the entrance exam. Looking around with satisfaction, and finally set his eyes on Uchiha Itachi and Yabajian, Yamazaki Ryuji looked solemn. 2 teenagers. Hokage-sama, the boy who specially told him. On the surface, one is very active and serious in class, and the other is sleeping in addition to sleeping. Worlds apart. Well, I got up a little late, sorry for the late update. Ask for flowers. Chapter 29. What did you just say? Please say it again. For a week, it's unclear who has the talent to be a good ninja. But Yamazaki Ryuji, who is the head teacher, probably knows what his attitude towards learning is. On the playground of the Konoha Ninja School, the students formed a group, and Yamazaki Ryuji, in the middle, glanced at the roster in his hand and narrowed his eyes. After a week of study, everyone must have understood the basics of how to become a good ninja. As for today's quiz, I will record it in detail and send the results of each classmate to Mr. Hokage. In other words, Hokage-sama has been keeping a close eye on the performance of your classmates. This will affect your future. After a pause, Yamazaki Ryuji stretched out his hand. The test is divided into 2 parts, the basics and the actual combat. The so-called basics include subjects such as ninja common sense, emergency measures, etc. In actual combat, it is divided into shuriken throwing and group confrontation. Below. The children listened attentively, and Ryuji Yamazaki, Chunin's instructor, spoke in great detail. But off the field, a sick boy slowly stood up and interrupted Yamazaki Ryuji's thoughts. 1 step, 2 steps. He finally walked in front of Yi Bajian. I'm going to challenge you. In an instant, all the eyes around him gathered. Challenges like this always attract attention. Especially when challenges are given on such occasions. Will the result of the battle be written into the file by Yamazaki Ryuji-sensei and sent to Hokage-sama? There was something wrong with the atmosphere. Yamazaki Ryuji frowned and looked over. Moonlight Hayate challenges the 8 swords of the night. Although it disrupted the rhythm a bit, he didn't say anything to interrupt. Yi Bajian is also the observation target given by Hokage-sama. In fact, his idea was to divide Uchiha Itachi and Yabajian together in the group confrontation, and then the combat effectiveness of the two will be reflected in detail. But Moonlight Hayate. According to rumors, there are 2 dun in the Moonlight clan who inherit the Konoha style of swordsmanship. I'm going to challenge you. Staring seriously at Yi Bajian's calm face, Moonlight Hayate spoke again. Every night these days, he would think of the last words Azuki Yugao had said to him, and the face that the man ignored that day. It was a torture from the bottom of my heart. Finally, he made up his mind. Let Yugao see who is the trash with her actions, and let her understand how bad her vision is. Inadvertently, Moonlight Hayate glanced at Azuki Yugao not far away. But the mockery on the girl's face made him very sad. Challenges are all out there. The surrounding students looked at the two with curious eyes. Yi Bajian, how would he deal with the one who only knew how to sleep in class? Everyone is looking forward to it. At this moment, they found it interesting to play Chan Chan Oil in the elite class. Suddenly, the boy moved. Leisurely took a step forward, and then took a sip of the wine gourd that made the classmates envy. Yes. Envy indeed. I envy Yi Bajian's life. The only bad young man who dared to drink in front of the head teacher. Are you going to fight? Moonlight Hayate was short of breath. It's time to make a name for yourself. Pity. Bajian didn't even look at him from beginning to end. After putting down the wine gourd, Bajian looked at Itachi next to him. Itachi nodded understandingly. Next, the two walked to the field in front of all their classmates. Swish swish. Hand seal with both hands. Boom. Boom. 2 puffs of white smoke flashed past, and next to Bajian, a clone that was exactly the same as Itachi on the opposite side appeared. And Itachi also appeared a vivid 8 swords. This is an transformation technique. Yamazaki Ryuji on the field opened his mouth wide with disbelief written all over his face. Hand seal speed that is even a little unclear. The perfect combination of transformation technique and clone technique. Are the two in front of you really your own students? Even him, hand seal can't be so fast. Whizzing. Before Yamazaki Ryuji could return to his senses, Hachiken and Itachi on the field moved again, and they took out the shuriken hanging around their waists and quickly shot at each other. Boom. 1 second before the shuriken hit, the figure that was dodging quickly and the half of the wood left in place showed all the students what a perfect substitute technique is. 3-body technique, perfect level. Are they really students? And what puzzled them the most was that if a Uchiha Itachi alone could do this, they would still accept it. After all, the Uchiha family, who came from a famous family, came to the school and were known as a gifted boy. Could Yabajian, the 10-10 sleeping, be able to do this? Why? The children who didn't understand the reason turned to Yuhi. There is only one thought in mind. Cannot accept. However, the next moment the two's actions were even more incredible. I saw Itachi began to retreat quickly, and the 8 swords standing on the spot slowly pulled out Zanpakuto straddling his waist. That's not even wearing decorations to pretend. A real knife. What is he going to do? In the distance, Itachi stood still, grabbed a total of 10 shuriken with both hands, and then took a deep breath and shot Yi Bajian in front of all the teachers and students. Whoosh whoosh. The sound of the shuriken passing through the air made the children's scalp tingle. No matter the angle or strength, it is perfect. What is he going to do? Is it not going to kill? The students looked at Yabagi and Itachi in horror. Swing a knife. Hack. Ding ding ding. Accompanied by the sound of gold and iron symphony. All the shuriken were shot and flew out. The tricky attack from that angle actually did not have the slightest effect on Yi Bajian. Even more terrifying. Looking in the direction from which the shot flew out, the shuriken with 3 points on the inner ring of the target used for training that was originally empty is his masterpiece. Silence. The performance is officially over. Suddenly frowned while carrying Zanpakuto, looking at the sick seedling who stood in front of him at first. Sarah, what did you just say? Can you say it again? ... It seems like I have a cold, and the headache is splitting. I don't know if I can add more updates today. The original 5 is not less, please rest assured. Chapter 30 You misunderstood, we are not interested in entrance exams. Just one look, the chill full of ferocity, made Moonlight Hayate slump to the ground weakly after just uttering a single word. The gap between you and him is like a gulf. This is a comment from the simple girl Izuki Yugao. And at this moment, he could clearly see the insurmountable gap. I was going to challenge him. Are you crazy? Moonlight Hayate lowered his head. He has even lost the courage to look at each other. Completely defeated. Maybe the word trash in my mouth that day was to describe myself. There was silence in the playground, and the students looked at Uchiha Itachi and Yabaken who were standing in the middle, and they couldn't calm down for a long time. Are they monsters? After only 1 week of admission, he is proficient in the Master S3 body technique. The shuriken throwing is even more amazing. Weasel lost it well. Yeba's sword was more perfect, and the strength and accuracy of rebounding the shuriken were even more astonishing. Is that human being? It's hard to imagine how stressful it would be to be classmates with them. The children of the commoners are sighing. They are also commoners, and they are not worthy to carry shoes for Yi Bajian. And Inuzuka, who once swore to his father that he would not weaken the name of the Inuzuka clan, gave a wry smile and was a little lost. Today, the excitement they receive is simply too great. Has the challenger fallen? Hachiken shook his head, completely ignoring Moonlight Hayate, and turned his head to meet Yamazaki Ryuji's gaze. Deliberate performance. Not really. In Bajian's view, taking out the normal state of training with Itachi in normal times is not even a high profile. After all, pretending to be forceful in front of a group of children will make you appear to have little self-restraint. Nor will Bajian be given any Bajian. And doing all this has a purpose that belongs to the 8 swords. Ahem. Mr. Ryuji Yamazaki seemed a little embarrassed. He wanted to take Moonlight Hayate's challenge to see Yi Bajian's strength, but he now understands that from the very beginning, Moonlight Hayate challenged Bajian and the latter didn't take it seriously. It can even be described as ignoring. Ignore the last resistance of a week, poor bastard. But testing continues. Judging from the performance of Yabajian and Itachi, the following things have nothing to do with them. After all, this world only recognizes the strong. I declare. Uchiha Itachi. 8 Swords of the Night. Pass the test. Taking a deep breath, General Yamazaki Ryuji just recorded the information of Bidu, and then announced the result. What surprised him was that Yabajian and Uchiha Itachi did not have any excitement, but walked in front of him with indifferent faces. Yi Bajian was in front, and Itachi followed behind. Clack. Opening the wine gourd, the knife-wielding boy took a sip of wine and opened his mouth while holding his shoulders. Sorry, Yamazaki-sensei. At Sha and Itachi, we have no interest in the so-called test results. What are they going to do? Yamazaki Ryuji frowned. The moment he was stared at by Yi Bajian, he suddenly had the illusion that he was about to be challenged. What do you mean? As the head teacher, you have to be tough at this time. Otherwise, this class, I am afraid that he will not be able to continue to take it. Graduate early. Please, Yamazaki-sensei, inform Hokage-sama. Yakuji, and Uchiha Itachi, hereby apply for early graduation and become a ninja. He grabbed the shy Itachi by his side, and Bajian's low voice was beyond doubt. Because, the ninja school has nothing to teach us. Ninja school. There is nothing left to teach us. Listen, is this what people say? The children were bewildered. Brother, you have just entered school for a week, okay. Although I would like to protest. But judging from the performances of these two monsters just now, it seems that what they said also makes sense. At least in the basic three-body technique and shuriken throwing, the school really couldn't teach them anything. Is he going to graduate early? Behind the boy and Itachi, a certain girl who was staring at his back suddenly trembled. Hey, if you don't hurry now, I'm afraid you won't be able to say what you want to say in the future. Izumi next to him suddenly tugged at the purple-haired girl's sleeve as a reminder. Becoming a ninja means a lot of danger, and away from school, they see less and less time. Teacher, please bring me. Apply for early graduation with me. The last of his courage, Azuki Yugao ran to Bajian's side, then grabbed Bajian's arm tightly. I think, together with Bajian-kun, become a ninja and face the danger in the future. Until beyond the Eight Swords-kun. From the spectator behind to become one of the protagonists, how much courage the girl needs to muster to face all this. Eight Swords stared at Azuki Yugao blankly. To be honest, he didn't expect it at all. But become a ninja. Team up with yourself to face danger. It was still too early for her. Slow down. Forget it this time. Eight Swords said. Is that really the case? The girl's face was full of disappointment. Clack. Stretched out his index finger and lightly tapped on Azuki Yugao's forehead, and the teenager showed a smile. Next time, when you graduate, I'll pick you up. Hello, Jianzhang. Isn't that something that only works for me? Itachi raised his eyebrows and snorted. ... Ask for tickets. Chapter 31 granted to graduate, 2 of Konoha's geniuses. What a messy little fellow. Konoha, inside the Hokage building. Looking at the information and documents on the table, Namikaze Minato rubbed his temples with a struggling face, looking a little irritable. 3 generations of Hokage are not there. So he rarely has it, so he can make up his own mind. Looking at the desk, the 2 data cards sighed. Application for early graduation. Uchiha Ferret from the Uchiha clan. The other one was Yi Bajian, whom he had been paying attention to early on. Just like him, a boy from a commoner background. But the other party's talent is stronger than his own. From Yi Bajian, he saw something that he did not possess. That unyielding spirit. At least the other party dares to fight. Therefore, Minato actually has his own considerations for the growth of Yabajian. When the other party graduates successfully, he even has an idea of accepting apprentices. Receive disciples and teach them carefully. Let him fulfill his unfulfilled dreams. That's probably what Minato had in mind. But he never expected Yi Bajian to play so big that he wanted to graduate early. Together with the genius boy of the Uchiha clan. How to do this? Mushu was sure to destroy Lin Feng. He didn't think that if he graduated from the ninja school, the other party would have enough ability to protect himself. Turning the pen in his hand, Minato's mind started racing. I don't know how long it took. When Minato noticed that the door to Hokage's office seemed to be pushed open, he instantly wrote a few large characters on the application with a pen. According to the report of the director Chunin Yamazaki Ryuji, Yabajian was given to Uchiha Itachi to graduate early. From now on, become a ninja. Closing the pen, Minato breathed a sigh of relief. Since this was Yi Bajian's own choice, he chose to trust the other party. Agreeing to the graduation application is probably the only thing you can do. I heard that the ninja school has 2 incredible little guys. Smoking a big cigarette, Sarutobi walked into the office with a smile, and as soon as he approached, he saw the 2 applications that had been approved for graduation on the table. Mouth and looking at Minato, Sarutobi didn't speak any further. Just now, he chatted with Danzo. There is no doubt that his old friend has taken a fancy to these two people. Unfortunately, Minato's attitude has already been revealed. Now that he wants someone, he can't hold this old face down. Yeah, two nice little fellows. It even broke Kakashi's record for early graduation. I am sure they will be good ninjas in Konoha. With a sunny nod, Minato was relieved. Excellent ninja in Konoha. These words, he bit to death. The next day. A piece of news has completely spread in Konoha. Just 1 week before the opening season of Ninja School, the two teenagers completed all their studies like a rocket, and have already applied for an early graduation application. One of them, Uchiha Itachi, a genius boy from the Uchiha clan. The other is the little-known Yi Bajian, but now, he is a well-deserved genius. Their strength has been collectively affirmed by this elite class of ninja school. Not sure. If they continue to stay in the class, one can imagine how much pressure they will have as classmates. Even more unexpected is that the response speed given by the senior management of Konoha is unexpectedly fast. Namikaze Minato, in the name of the fourth-generation Hokage, officially announced that the two will be allowed to apply for early graduation, and they will officially become ninjas from today. 3 days later, they will be met at the Hokage office, where the Konoha ninja forehead will be granted. Really graduated early. In just 1 week of school, I accomplished what other kids could do in years. The news spread like wildfire. No need for cans to spread, the whole Konoha boils. This is exciting news. Konoha has been silent for too long. Konoha, who has not yet come out of the Third Ninja War, needs this kind of news to wash away the grief caused by the war. I knew that a person like you would never stay too long in the kind of place where children play their homes. Sela. As an unknown liquid was poured into the test tube, Orochimaru in the dark laboratory stuck out his tongue and licked his lips, seemingly not surprised by the news of Hachiken's graduation. Let me see, Hachiken-kun, you and Itachi-kun are unusual. Walking towards the terrified subject, Orochimaru had a grim expression on his face. No matter how the outside world views this matter, it has nothing to do with Bajian. There is no need to go to ninja school anymore. He had to do was wait 3 days, then head to the Hokage building to get his forehead guard. As for whether there will be arrangements for guiding Jonin, Bajian doesn't care. Because of his existence, the terrifying progress of Naka Itachi, who spent a year in school before graduating early in the original novel, has been advanced again. But some things can't be solved after graduation. I vaguely remember that Itachi performed the sea-level mission for the first time, and after returning, he was the only one left. Sharingan is also turned on. Yes, Obito did it. The reputation is to help him find his own heir. So it doesn't matter whether you do tasks after graduation, or enter Anbu. 8 Swords will go on as always. In the future, he will use his method to exercise himself and let him grow up thoroughly. Until it has the power to change everything. At the training ground, the two figures were entangled again. Hack. Never stop. Ask for flowers. Chapter 32. Come, have a drink. You kid graduated silently. They've been able to endure it. My wings are hardened, and I won't accept the discipline of my sister. In the early morning of the next day, few did not get up early to go to the training ground to practice. Bajian looked at the girl squatting on the head of his bed with a bit of pain. Anko, his titular sister. Bajian's most important relative. Recently, she and her best friend Kurenai Yuhi went on a mission outside the village. It is estimated that he just came back and heard the news that Bajian had graduated, and he couldn't accept it for a while. On the one hand, it was hit. On the other hand, I'm afraid I don't know how to express my pride. So in the morning, he was stuck at the head of Bajian's bed. Glancing at it slightly, Enko wearing a veil has a unique charm. Through some oddly angled gap, it seemed that something with Enko's name was thriving. Yuhi of Enko. Enko, S beans. Enko, S Enko. What can I say, as expected of you. Boldness is comparable to Sunadiheim. If feeling strange, the girl jumped off the bed with a Yuhi expression on her face. But in order to maintain her image as a sister, she hurriedly pinched her waist and continued to scold. Oh, I didn't think that when I brought you back then, my stupid brother could surpass my sister so quickly. My stupid brother. This always sounded a little familiar. Bajien sat up from the bed in an instant, and even wondered if he had been studying the chakra blade a little late last night, and he was still sleeping. Of course, if Enko said something stupid brother, please hate her, etc., Hachiken would be more convinced of this point of view. Well, it's my brother after all. Eyes softened suddenly, and the strong Enko's voice carried a different kind of doting. My father and my mother went early. If they were here, they would be as proud as my sister now, right? From the most overrated freshman to the record-breaking genius who graduated the fastest, if your father and mother are here, you will definitely be celebrated. Enko shook his head. Although my elder sister can't do the same as my father and mother, do something to encourage you at this time. Although my elder sister is a little incompetent, she has to celebrate my proud younger brother no matter what. Sister doesn't have many friends, but she has tried her best to have them come over to celebrate for you, although I don't know how many you can come. Ah, I don't know what to say. Enko's eyes suddenly turned to Yuhi. I just want to tell you that you are not alone when you want to share the joy. You're not alone. People like Enko who are not good at words rambled a lot, and finally gave up beating around the bush. Yes. She just wanted to tell Bajien that you are not alone. You have a sister to celebrate with you. What she wanted to say most was to tell Bajien that although he had never enjoyed fatherly and motherly love, as a sister, she would try to fill this vacant relationship. That was the only thing she could do for Bajien. I understand. There is no need to say much at this time, a warm hug is enough. The atmosphere is cozy. After an unknown amount of time, Enko suddenly jumped up with embarrassment on his face. Others don't know, Yuhi will definitely come, and I said he's going to cook. Can you eat what you make? The corners of Bajian's mouth twitched. Raising his brows and revealing a wisp of smile, the young man patted his elder sister on the shoulder. Here comes the one who can cook. A sneeze. Outside Midarashi's house, Itachi, who had just raised his hand to knock on the door, sneezed fiercely. For some reason, he suddenly had a bad feeling. Frowning, Itachi's hand in the air has not been knocked down. What's the matter, Itachi? And Shisui behind him asked curiously. It always feels like something is wrong. A few minutes later, when Itachi looked at the stove that was much taller than him, he finally understood where the hunch came from. Let me cook. Itachi looked at the egg and Nishi Yuhiki next to him, lost in thought. Jian-seng seems to have said once before that a good man can go to the hall and go to the kitchen. No way, try it. Kaden, fire style. Great fireball jutsu. Boom. What's going on over there in the kitchen? In the living room, Shisui, who was chatting with Enko and Hachiken, asked suspiciously. Calm down. Bajien waved his hands and didn't care, but he remembered it very clearly. There is a very clear picture in the original book. Itachi knows how to cook. As for today's unexpected celebration, it's all about the final relaxation of the chaos that will come. This is Enko's mind. That alone would allow him to stay by her side quietly. Let's have a showdown, Kakashi. Boom. With the sound of the door smashing, two figures appeared in the courtyard of Midarashi's house. Following his gaze, the doubts on Bajian's face flashed away. Hatake Kakashi. Did he really come? Can Enko's invitation alone convince Kakashi to come to his own celebration? You know, Kakashi is going through the darkest period right now. Also squeezed in with Kakashi is Might Guy. Compared with Kakashi, Might Guy and 8 Swords are very familiar. The end, there is a helpless Kurenai Yuhi. They were alive, except for the head of the Hyuga clan, basically all came. It's kind of interesting. With a slight smile, Hachiken picked up the wine gourd on the table and took a sip, and then threw it towards Kakashi. Just when the other party was a little confused, Bajian patted his chest boldly. Come on, have a drink. ... The 5th is delivered. Ah, there is no way to add more updates today. It's very uncomfortable to catch a cold, and hard writing will inevitably affect the quality, so there are only 5 updates. Thank you readers for the flowers and tickets. Wait for the little author to get better and repay more. Thank you. Chapter 33 When Tasting Blood. Just when Kakashi received Hachiken's wine gourd, Shisui, who was sitting next to him, was suddenly stunned. Once upon a time, Bajian also said such words to himself. Drink a sip. This is Yi Bajian's unique way of saying hello. According to Itachi, only those who are affirmed by 8 Swords and have enough interest will be invited like this. Shisui was a little proud for a while when Itachi explained to him. Proud to be affirmed. Yes. Look at a few people in the house. Kurenai Yuhi, Mitarashi Anko, Uchiha's self and Itachi, as well as Hatake Kakashi and Might Guy. No matter how you look at it, it always feels a little strange for everyone to be in the same room together. If it weren't for a mission or a special event, these people would never enter the same shot. And the implication of them is Yi Bajian. Holding the wine gourd in a daze, Kakashi fell into silence. Wine. Perhaps even today, he is still not old enough to drink. Born in 33, Konoha has not yet turned 15. But he was so tired that he wanted to drink for a long time, get drunk and have a good rest, or he could just fall asleep to death. That was the greatest enjoyment for him. Originally received Anko's invitation, Kakashi was not prepared to come. After all, a person like him has long wanted to avoid interacting with others, and he does not want to deliberately form some kind of bond. Because except for Minato-sensei, everyone who had a bond with him was already dead. Rin, Obito. It was the pain in his heart forever. But in the end he still came to the Mitarashi house, not all because of what the 4th generation had just said to him. To a greater extent, I want to see what kind of people break their own records. Once, he was also a genius. Letting out a breath, Kakashi picked up the wine gourd and took a sip. The spicy feeling made his whole body rise instantly. The numbness of alcohol turned out to be so comfortable. Good. At Kakashi, Hachiken gave a satisfied smile. Hatake Kakashi, ah. It's worth getting him a drink yourself. The party has already started. After Itachi began to orderly prepare carefully prepared dishes from the kitchen, the atmosphere had risen to a certain level. For Bajian, today is a day to enjoy Anko's heart. Again, it was his last indulgence. Becoming a ninja means that his life will become hectic in the future. After all, this is the world of ninjas, and the main theme of ninjas, as always, is killing. ... Kakashi, who had left the yard of Mitarashi's house, walked alone on the streets of Konoha. Stopping suddenly, he stretched out his hand to cover the forehead guard that was slanting on his forehead. And the eyes that were blocked by the forehead were aching. Looking at the memorial garden next to him, Kakashi sighed and walked in. Obito, Rin. Putting down the white flowers in his hand, Kakashi's voice was low. The memory suddenly returned to that scene. Obito, who was crushed by the stone, gave him his eyes as a gift from Jonin. The heaviest gift in my life. That Sharingan. Forehead straight, Yuhi's 3 hooks are the tears that have long since converged into a small stream. Uncontrollable tears. I don't know why, but when I see them, I always think of you. I even want to take the initiative to come over. Well, it's too funny for someone like me to have this kind of thought. The forehead was put down again, and Kakashi murmured, if it was Yahachi and Itachi, the ending would be different from ours. But the new life that the teacher has received doesn't seem to do anything to wash away the darkness in my heart. The teacher's child. It won't be long before. I really envy him, born in such an age. Obito, maybe we were born later. Closing his mouth, Kakashi let out another long sigh. The tears in his eyes gradually stopped, and when he turned around again, there was a cat face mask on his face. He is Anbu's ninja. The current task is to guard the pregnant Kyuubi, Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, Column Force and guard the wife of the 4th Hokage. Swish. The figure disappeared, and there was nothing in front of the memorial tablet except the white flowers swaying in the wind. But a few seconds later, a figure slowly walked out from the grass behind. With a wave of one hand, the small flower placed in front of the memorial tablet was instantly smashed into pieces. The person who came was wearing a mask, so he couldn't see the specific expression. But no matter how you look at standing in front of your own grave, your mood will not be so good. Yebijian, Itachi. The teacher's child. The third tomo of Yuhi, the gorilla in the one-eyed mask, was bloodshot. In hell. The space was filled with strange fluctuations, and his figure disappeared in front of the memorial tablet. Only the white petals and the little tears left on the ground told outsiders that a disaster was approaching. 3 days later. The news of Konoha's 2 talents graduating early gradually settled down. In Hokage's office, there were 2 more young figures. Knight 8 Swords, Uchiha Itachi. Looking at the 2 little guys, there was a hint of relief on Minato's face. There is no doubt that Konoha is a village that has been through the vicissitudes of life. But fortunately, it is such a village that one talent after another has emerged, guarding the treasures left by the ancestors. Shaking the heavy forehead in the handshake. Looked at Minato in front of him, and the 3rd generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen who was sitting next to him muttered. The time to taste blood has finally come. Ask for flowers, ask for tickets. Chapter 34 Temporary Squad, Sea-Level Mission. Actually, my original intention was to incorporate him and Itachi into Kakashi's Anbu. Unfortunately. Inside Hokage's office, Namikaze Minato sighed with a wry smile, and Namikaze Minato looked at the documents that had been prepared. Has the child come out yet? The 3rd generation lit the bong and said with regret on his face. That kid naturally meant Kakashi. To be honest, he admires each other very much, and if it wasn't for his father, the kid would eventually become Konoha's mainstay Jinchuriki column. Yeah, the purpose of arranging him to go to Midarashi's house before is to let him get in touch with Yahagi and Itachi. Looking at the photo with Obito, Kakashi, and Rin on the table, Minato's face was confused. There is no doubt that he trusts Kakashi immensely. He even handed over the job of being a bodyguard to his wife. But it seems that he still hasn't come out of that incident. Maybe, when his child is born, he will change. For the kind of person who lives in grief in the past, the arrival of new life should make him feel warm. Look at it first, after all, they are too young to join Anbu for them. 3 generations shook his head. Anbu with roots. Konoha 2 special departments, once he was in charge of Anbu. The route is managed by his old partner Shimura Danzo. People at the route are all cultivated from urination, and even obliterate their feelings. The method is more cruel than Anbu. The most obvious example is Yamato. The Mokudan wood-style teenager who was transferred from his roots to Anbu. But Anbu, all carefully selected elite ninjas, is fundamentally different from the route. After the death of Hatake Tsukumo, the current route has been replaced by a batch of fresh blood, directly under the command of Namikaze Minato. After all, there are some differences between graduating from a ninja school and becoming a really good ninja. It's good to practice in a temporary team. But do you really think it's not good to let Orochimaru take them to study first? Putting down the cigarette bag, Sandai suddenly asked. Yes, this proposal he spoke to Minato yesterday. But it was rejected by the other party. Orochimaru, how dare you say it? I'm afraid that it's a brain hemorrhage before I agree. He glanced helplessly at the small locked drawer in front of the chair next to him. It contains the most detailed reports on the disappearance of people in the village. He had read the document, and the culprit of everything was teacher Orochimaru. Send Uchiha Itachi and Yabaken, the two most outstanding juniors from the village, to Orochimaru. 3 generations can't figure it out. He still think Orochimaru teacher was the old Leng-kun who loved the village. The atmosphere was a little awkward. Sandai also understood that what he said was completely meaningless. Orochimaru ah. With a long sigh, the man's eyes appeared in Sandai's mind. What kind of look is that? Ambitious and vicious. It's almost there at last. ... Jien sang, I hate war. The Hokage building and headed to the training ground. 8 Swords glanced at Itachi's face. When he heard this moment, the nasolabial lines on the boy's face were about to turn into tear troughs. The so-called tear trough is a sign that tears flow out and wash away. A person like him can only cry openly on rainy days in the future. You've been a little sentimental lately. A finger, a pain in the forehead, Itachi closed his mouth unconsciously. Have you started yet? Your cranky life. Byakugan, Hachiken grabbed Itachi by the collar, his eyes fixed on him. No matter what happens, please remember that you have me by your side. Swish. Itachi, the young man took a sigh of relief and stretched his waist. Let's go. Hokage didn't say it, there are other members of the temporary team at the number 8 training ground. Hokage. It seems that Jien Sang never calls Lord Hokage. After finishing his clothes, Itachi walked forward behind Hachiken. Training ground number 8, similar to other Konoha training grounds, has nothing particularly strange about it. When the two came to the field, several figures in front of them came into view. A teenager with long dark brown hair and Konoha's genin browguard on his head. Next to him, there was a short-haired man with a pockmarked face. Are they future teammates? It doesn't look like it's going to be so good. What, just 2 little devils? The brown-haired man holding his shoulders frowned, rather unhappy about being treated as a nanny. Forget it, after all, it's a C-level mission. There are more opportunities for 2 people. Besides, these 2 are also geniuses who can graduate early from the ninja school. The pockmarked man was smoothing things out, but from the tone of voice, it seemed to be a bit yin and yang. Che, 2 wastes, how can they help? I really don't know what Lord Hokage thinks. If Qingfeng was injured and had to recuperate in the hospital, who would use them? The brown-haired man said disdainfully, Hey, 2 brats, listen up. Tomorrow we will perform a C-level mission to escort an important person. Remember to hide behind us, not to be scared. Swish. Boom. Knife light flashed. The brown-haired boy, who was still arrogant, just now discovered in horror that the big tree next to him had been divided into 2. Whether it's trash or kid, I don't want to hear these words a second time. With a grin, Bajian was a little dull. A few tricks, not even the qualifications to make him angry. Leave Itachi, today's practice hasn't been completed yet. Seeing the backs of the 2 leaving, the pockmarked man swallowed. OMG. What kind of monster is this? Suddenly thinking of something, he hurriedly pulled his neck and shouted, Hey, tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, we will gather at the entrance of the village. And Bajian, who was far away, didn't seem to hear it, and didn't turn his head. Only Itachi next to him heard Jianzhang muttering in his mouth. No matter what kind of world, only strong strength is the most effective way to be recognized by others. Only if you are strong can you protect what you want to protect. From beginning to end, I just want to use my strength to appreciate this beautiful ninja world. Sword sang. As expected of you. Nodding deeply, Itachi's eyes brightened. The story of Jianzhang has only just begun. Ask for a ticket. Chapter 35 refreshed daily tasks that never stop. Anko. It was about to fall into the night, and in Sen Leng's room, Orochimaru suddenly stopped the female apprentice who was about to leave. Orochimaru teacher. Anko looked curious. She has definitely learned a lot since following this famous teacher, but with it comes a lot of weird questions. For example, what is your teacher busy with every day? And in those rooms that you have never entered, why are there always screams? She does not know, but dare not ask. After watching Anko for a long time, Orochimaru finally shook his head. It's okay, say hello to Yi-kun for me. Just now, he suddenly remembered that in addition to not reincarnating, another huge breakthrough in research. Curse mark. A strange energy. Refined in the test object he just got, the child named Shigego. Then mix your own cells into it, and this is the complete body of the curse. Just stopped Anko, presumably wanting to do an experiment before leaving. Ordinary people can't stand the intensity of the curse mark. But that didn't stop him from experimenting with ordinary people. The moment Anko turned his head, Orochimaru suddenly thought of something. The person in front of him was his ordinary apprentice. But she also has something different from ordinary people. Mitarashi Anko, she has an enviable younger brother, Yabajian. With Anko's body, if something goes wrong, Yabajian will hate himself, and maybe he will just give up his life in Konoha to seek revenge on him. Just now, he planned this way. But on second thought, the boy's wild eyes that day made him wake up instantly. This is her sister. Although I am not afraid, it will be very troublesome after all. And Yi Bajian has clearly said that he will come to him in the future. It is obviously not necessary to stimulate the other party on this basis. Use your own eyes to see where the child can go. This is your purpose. Yes, Orochimaru-sensei. Anko nodded, somewhat inexplicably. Also, you won't be here anymore. After speaking, Orochimaru turned to organize his data, which means that whatever question Anko is asking, he will no longer answer. Will you no longer use it? Out of the room, the confusion in Anko's eyes deepened. She had a hunch that something big was about to happen. 1997. 1998. 1999. Swish. 2000. Ding. Congratulations to the host for completing the daily task 2000 times of swinging the knife, and rewarding the King of Flat Cutting template, Xingmu Janba, unlocking progress of 0.2%. Ding. Congratulations to the host for achieving the achievement Continuous Slashing, and the daily task was successfully upgraded. From now on, the daily quest will be renamed Never Stop, and the quest rewards will increase according to the number of daily knife swings. Appeared. Upgrades for daily tasks. Back Zanpakudo, Bajian summoned the system panel and looked over. Host, Yi Bajian. World, Hokage Ninja. Unlocked King of Slashing template, Zuragi Kenpachi. Unlock percentage, 7.6. The King of Flat Cut template reaches 10% to unlock the next character template. The next template Awakening, the second template progress reaches 5%. Flat cut points, 195 can be exchanged for template progress or shop items. Chakra volume, 30 genin level. Physical fitness, 80 slightly stronger. Reiatsu, unknown. Active trait, chakra blades. Daily quest, /2000 times completed. Daily quests new, never stop. Knife 1000 times to unlock 0.1% of all unlocked templates. Unicom polished. Knife 2000 times, the chakra reserve increases by 0.1. Unicom polished. Knife 4000 times, the physical fitness coefficient increases by 0.1. Unicom polished. Knife 6000 times, representing the energy of the soul, and the Reiatsu is slightly strengthened. Unicom polished. Knife 8000 times to unlock 0.2% of all unlocked templates. Unicom polished. Knife 10,000 times, the chakra reserve increases by 0.2. Anakam polished. ... Never stop. Just like the name of the daily task, as long as he keeps swinging the knife, his strength will continue to increase. Chakra, spiritual pressure, and physical fitness, the most critical template progress, this is an improvement in all aspects. But these three kinds of energies do not conflict in Bajian's body. Chakra, derived from body cells, as well as spiritual energy. The stronger the physical quality, the more chakras extracted. Reiatsu, derived from the energy of the soul, is the fundamental energy of the god of death. The three do not conflict, and even complement each other. When the three energies break through some kind of bondage and combine in the future, Bajian believes that he will become a strong and terrifying monster. But there is only one point. Bajian has some doubts. Why does Reiatsu show unknown? Yes, in addition to Reiatsu, he can see the concrete value of his body data, which is an accurate estimate of his own strength. However, the Reiatsu as displayed on the system panel is unknown. Master Host, this is related to your template unlocking progress. This value will only be accurately detected after the Zengmujanba template is completely unlocked. Is that so? Bajian nodded and took a deep breath. The moon hangs high in the sky, and Itachi has already gone home to rest and prepare for the next day's mission. 2,000 times a day due to the upgrade. That is to say, swish the knife and never stop. With Zanpakuto pulled out of its sheath, the fire in the heart of the boy under the moon burned again. ... Well. Ask for flowers. Chapter 36 Roaring Devil. Sea-level tasks. Tasks in which the person performing the task may be injured. The work may be mainly based on the invitation of other countries to participate in wars, escort, conduct investigations, capture or slay beasts, send confidential documents, etc. The remuneration is 32,000 to 100,000 taels. During sea-level missions. So it's relatively easy. At the entrance of Konoha village, when Yabaken and Itachi arrived, the group had been waiting for a long time. In addition to the brown-haired man and the pockmarked man who wanted to give Bajian's horsepower yesterday afternoon, there was also a squinting old man in fancy clothes. A distant relative of a high-ranking noble in the kingdom of Tang. Well, a distant relative of an aristocrat, living a nourishing life several times easier and richer than a ninja. This time, he came to the land of fire to have fun. Now that the fun is over, it's time for him to go back. The task of Bajian and others is to send him smoothly to the territory of Tang dynasty. Well, two little devils, how does Hokage do things? The old man in Wafu looked unhappy, as if the arrival of Yebajian and Itachi made him feel unreliable. This is what Konoha is now. A foreign rubbish can make a judgment on Hokage. Eight Swords sneered. This disrespect, or treating ninjas as they should be, is a traditional problem left over from history. I don't know when it started, but in the eyes of these people, ninjas have become just objects that can be used. Give money, work. If you don't do it well, you will be punished. Is this a ninja? In the final analysis, this attitude probably started from the establishment of ninja sect. Distribute the precious chakra to others at will, and finally let everyone have the qualification to refine the chakra. This is not inheritance, it is the main culprit contributing to the rise in war deaths. When Konoha's first Hokage, Senju Hashirama, was in charge of the village, Konoha's humility made people look down on the village. The five shadows will bow and salute at the meeting. If it wasn't for the strong opposition of the second generation, he even planned to give the tailed beast to other ninja villages in vain. What a boldness this is. Shaking his head, Bajian didn't even bother to pay attention to the other party, and walked in front of the team. The escort mission officially began. On the way forward, the old man of Tang Jiguo and the other two genins kept their eyes on the boy walking in front. The reason is very simple. All the way, he has been waving the strange knife in his hand. Jian sang, isn't today's training over? Beside Bajian, Itachi asked strangely. Today, he and Jianzhang went directly from the training ground to Konoha village. He woke up early and sweated with Hachiken on the training ground. Cultivation is over, Itachi, there is no end to this kind of cultivation. Shaking his head, Bajian exhaled a little. His daily tasks have been upgraded, and every swing of the knife is an accumulation that never stops. As expected of you. Sword sang. Nodding, Itachi's hands also began to move. In order to save the shuriken, it was impossible for him to throw as recklessly as he did on the training ground. This time was the right time to practice hand seal speed. Looking at Itachi, Bajian finally swallowed what he wanted to say. That's right, he wanted to tell Itachi that only honest people will continue hand seal in the later stage. Isn't that thing called a clap of hands? After thinking about it, he gave up. At least it's not a bad thing to practice hand seal speed now. Grabbed the wine gourd and took a sip while waving Zanpakudo, while his eyes glanced casually at the woods beside him. He still came. Even under his own influence, Itachi graduated a year early, but he still did not escape his fate. Have you been noticed? After the group walked past, a masked figure appeared under the shadow. Obviously, they have been targeted. As for the reason, I am afraid that apart from Obito's curiosity, there is also what Kakashi said in front of the memorial tablet. When you see them, you always think of yourself. Ridiculous. Destroying other people's beliefs is like collapsing his own beliefs. This is what Obito does. The game has just begun. ... Whoosh whoosh. The team moved on. But when they were about to pass through a dense jungle, a dozen or so heavily armed warriors suddenly blocked their way. Enemy attack. For a moment, the atmosphere of the team briefly stagnated. The pock-marked man, who had recovered his senses, quickly grabbed Kuu and held it in his hand, and then shouted to the front, "Come back and protect Nani-sama." Yeah. It turned out his name was Nani. Itachi did not move at all. He had already drawn his shuriken and was ready to attack at any time, but Bajian took a step forward in the opposite direction. Sure enough, I'm afraid I've been scared and stupid. In the end, I still don't know how to cooperate, and I don't listen to orders. The brown-haired man said angrily. Killers have no extra bullshit. When Bajian took a step forward, a figure had already rushed in front of him. Knife light flashed, and Yin Yuhi's blood dripped onto the ground. Jian sang. Behind the boy, Itachi looked worriedly at the long sword that Bajian grabbed with one hand. Strength, it's almost meaningless. Raising his head suddenly, the samurai with the sword suddenly saw something unusual in the boy's eyes. Fierce and wild. PFF'd. Immediately afterwards, there was a colicky pain in his chest, and an ordinary knife had pierced through him. That's what pain feels like. The feeling of real fighting. At this moment, the bestiality of the roaring evil ghost from the world of the god of death completely merged with the 8 swords of the night. He is the god of death. Come on, let's fight. Blood spilled on his face, and Itachi saw the face that was gradually distorted by excitement. The young man in front of him was both familiar and unfamiliar. But there is no doubt that he is Jianzhang. Following the boy's footsteps, Itachi rushed up. ... Ask for a ticket. Chapter 37 Kill them. When the morning sound was mixed with the pleasure of the long knife entering the stomach. The narrow road has turned into purgatory on earth. The evil spirit roared and climbed out of hell, mercilessly harvesting people's lives. Thump. The last samurai fell, and Yi Bajian's body was already covered with blood. Look out over the entire battlefield. The terrified faces of a dozen corpses before they died, and the gorilla Yuhi all over the floor was shocking. The 2 genins who had been protecting Lord Nani behind him vomited violently on the weed pile beside him. They are only the first time to perform a sea-level mission. Dead people, I was still thinking about how far away they would be. But this is like a picture of hell, so they can't bear it at all. Call. let out a suffocating breath. Bajian leaned against the big tree next to him. Reach out the hand that grabbed the blade before, then grab the wine gourd and pour the alcohol on it to sanitize the work. Tear off the bandage, and just about to wrap it, a hand next to him grabbed the job. Looking at the knife in his hand, Itachi frowned. Jian sang, based on what I know about you, you can completely avoid a minion of this level before slashing at you with a knife. You can even kill him before he attacks you. But why do you have to pick it up by hand? Itachi doesn't understand, he only knows this knife. Jianzhang has no reason to be hit at all. Itachi, I am a person. Shaking his head, the killing intent in Bajian's eyes has disappeared. Of course he is human. And this is my first murder. The first kill. Things I ignore. Itachi's body trembled when he regained his senses. Like Bajian, it was his first time to kill someone. Whether panic and fear will come, I don't know. But before experiencing that emotion, letting pain replace that feeling works well. At least I killed them all soberly. Urguotu was sullen, and Bajian had a mocking expression on his face. Only when killing people did he realize that when he read novels in his previous life, the protagonist's understatement can overcome the discomfort, which is completely nonsense. Especially the first kill. Just seeing Itachi bandaging his hand trembling next to him, Bajian understood what kind of psychology it was. But from today, that sentiment will be gone. It's blood honed in will. As a ninja, when performing a mission, not killing means being killed. Shaking his bandaged hand, the slightest pain made Bajian fully understand what kind of world he was in. Hokage ninja. Hidden under the blood is the truth of the strong feeding the weak. Even Naruto, who is wearing the aura of the protagonist, knows that if he chooses to escape when he fails to defeat the opponent, it will have no effect at all. This is the real world. And the man next to him, no matter from that angle, there is no blood at all. Jian sang. At this time, Itachi had completely understood Jianzhang's words, paralyzed his nerves with pain, and then came over from the pain to understand fear more deeply, and then overcome fear. I was also worried about Jianzhang's comfort, and then rushed over without any scruples. Am I conquering my fear? Itachi didn't know, he only knew the extremely angry feeling in his heart when the enemy's knife slashed at Jianzhang. No one can hurt my friend. No one can do it. Eyes stinging, Itachi shook his head. It's a pity that in the end, the level was still not passed in one breath. His Sharingan is still silent. Hey, the one named Erlang Kusanagi, and Jingtai Maru, it's better to hide behind me on the next escort way, or you will die. Zanpakuto, Baji and Yao Yao shouted at the two dragon sets that were vomiting outrageous, then stood up and strode forward. The 8 swords of the faint soul fluctuations in the consciousness are very clearly perceived. He didn't know whether this sudden assassination had anything to do with the soul fluctuation, but what was certain was that the man would not let himself and others go smoothly on the next journey. Itachi's first C-rank mission has a story. That pair of gorillas Yuhi, Sharingan full of grief, will also be fully unfolded. Damn. This is clearly what I said to them before. Now it was sent back with the same tone. Jiro Kusanagi gave a wry smile and looked at his pock-faced companion. What else can they say? I am afraid that if it wasn't for Yabajian and Uchiha Itachi being suddenly incorporated into the squad, they would have been wiped out by this assassination alone. Mention that their guide, Jonin, was absent, or that their companions were missing so they failed. This is a manifestation of insufficient hard power, and perhaps, they are not worthy of being ninjas. Not every team has the same treatment as Konoha Xiaoqiang in the future, especially in this era. Konoha has just experienced the serious loss of the Third Ninja War, and there are many orphan teams like this. The team moved on. Everything seemed to calm down, the breeze blew, and a masked man suddenly appeared and stared blankly at the corpse on the ground. One-shot kill. I underestimate them, but now, it's not so easy to deal with. The space surged, the masked man slowly disappeared, and he reappeared, but on the only road not far in front of the escort team, the ground around him slowly drilled out a few strange, human beings with white bodies. Kill them. Yes. The 5th update is delivered. It is already the end of the month, and the monthly ticket is about to be refreshed. Can you vote for one for the little author? A monthly pass, plus more will be delivered soon, as promised. Chapter 38 Joint Ninjutsu, Unparalleled Tacit Understanding. The Third Ninja World War was not completely over. Kumogakure village are still stationed on the border between the Land of Thunder and the Land of Fire. They are waiting for their time. Wait for a change in Konoha. And where did the news of the change come from? It's worth looking into. As if Danzo knew in advance that something was going to happen. The war did not subside. It also became extremely dangerous to perform tasks outside the village. When Yabajian and his party stopped moving forward again, the killing seemed to start again. No, I just suffered an assassination. Looking at the aggressive and masked ninjas in front of him, Mr. Nani was completely panicked. He didn't expect to get into such a big trouble this time. After careful calculation, given his status in Tangjaguo, no one would send ninjas to kill him. As for other countries, there is not much intersection with a noble like him. Why do ninjas appear? Jiro Kusanagi and Jingtai Maru looked at each other and saw the despair in each other's eyes. Just despair. If there is still a chance of survival in the previous battle, there is absolutely no way for them to win now. Judging from the mask he was wearing, he could already guess that it was an Anbu ninja from a certain village. Looking around, a full 20 ninjas have surrounded them. 20-4. Also protect a drag. How to fight this kind of battle? Jenin, a rookie who just graduated less than a year ago. The world is so scary. Jian sang. Itachi looked dignified, and Kanai held it tightly in his hand and looked at the man next to him. There is no doubt that Jianzhang is his backbone at the moment of crisis. Just like Jianzhang once said. With him there, don't panic. The strength is between Jenin and Chunin, but the tricky part is yet to come. After glancing around, Bajian took a deep breath and made a calm analysis. After the first murder, he no longer had the panic he had before. From the chaotic soul fluctuations from these people, Bajian understood who was behind the mask. White Zetsu. Thousands of years ago, the product of infinite Tsukuyomi. A weapon that Kagaya made to fight Otsutsuki. Obito finally got his shot. The reason for the shot, Bajian is not clear. Maybe because his name is Uchiha Obito, there is no need to know why. Original book, Obito shot at the young Itachi for no reason. Leaving only a good name to help the other party gain power. Understand that only hatred is a necessary condition for Uchiha's evolution, and also boldly told Itachi in the name of Madara that he killed his younger brother and used his younger brother's eyes in order to gain power. Funny clown. Obito, who doesn't understand Madara at all, understand. Madara only let Obito know what she wanted him to know. Although the troublesome person has not come out yet, the trouble at hand should be dealt with. Slowly draw out Zanpakuto, and chakra instantly covers it. With the light blue chakra becoming extremely sharp, at this moment, he turned into a wind that came and went without a trace. Do you remember the training session the other day? A slight flick, the sound of breaking through the air from the 8 swords Zanpakuto made Itachi nodded fiercely. Understood. After spitting out 2 words, facing the approaching enemy, Itachi's hands began to quickly hand seal. Si, Wei, Shen, Hai, Wu, Yin. Kaden, fire style. Great fireball jutsu. Itachi's little face was chilled by the light of the fire, and at the same time, the knife with the wind attribute chakra nature transformation also slashed forward fiercely. The strong cutting and absorption changed the shape of Itachi's grand fireball. The next second, a majestic burning long knife slashed from top to bottom. Combine ninjutsu. Only 2 people who have a tacit understanding to a certain extent can use it together. Whether it is the amount of chakra or the timing of swinging the knife, it must be perfectly controlled, otherwise it will fail. The wind fuels the fire, and because the Eight Swords chakra nature transformation is the highest priority in the Hokage world, Grand Fireball has become a flaming sword. What kind of trick is this? The two dragon sets behind Genin were completely stunned. Even Obito, who was hiding, opened his mouth wide. Combining ninjutsu, it can still be used like this. Boom! The fire knife smashed to the ground, and several enemies in front were smashed straight ahead before they had time to dodge. And when the fire knife cut into their skin, the fear that came from the heart completely exploded. The flame that can cut the body. Cut the wound, but the inside of the wound is burned again by the flame. The lethality is strong to a certain extent. Grand Fireball, an ordinary C-rank ninjutsu, exerted the power of a rank or even above. These two little devils. Sharingan in the mask on his face squinted slightly, and Obito's breathing stopped briefly. No wonder Kakashi said that when he saw the two of them, he always thought of the previous Minato class. This kind of tacit understanding alone cannot be compared by ordinary people. Knife smashed down. But the battle has only just begun. And Itachi rushed towards the ninjas transformed by White Zetsu. However, as Bajian guessed, the strength of these ninjas was not that strong. Under his chakra blade and Itachi's supplementary knife, they all fell down after a while. Jian Sang is so strong. Looking at the corpses around, and thinking of the flaming knife before, Itachi's little face was a little proud. Quite capable. But just when Itachi wanted to say something, a man with a mask suddenly appeared. Frowning, Itachi unconsciously stood in front of Bajian and subconsciously protected the opponent with his body. Jianzhang said that the tricky part is still to come. And the person in front of him should be the troublesome object. The guy who hides his head and shows his tail, who are you? Indeed, it is impossible for the powerful of a land of soup to attract so many ninjas. In this way, the identity of the other party is also questionable. Who is he? Looking at Bajian and Itachi, the masked man suddenly crooked his neck, and then said something in a very gloomy tone. My name. Uchiha Madara. The air froze for a while. Immediately after. PFF'd. But when he said these words, the young man couldn't hold back his laughter for a while. See it. Obito said he was Uchiha Madara. ... Thanks for the big monthly pass, plus more delivery. Ask for a ticket. Peas. In addition, some readers said that they were friends with people who killed their fathers and killed their mothers, and were poisoned to death. What do you say, EMMM? It was because I felt very bitter that I wanted to change, and I wanted to make up for my regret. It was even said that the poisonous little author had nothing to say. Chapter 39. Are you also worthy of the name Uchiha Madara? Little devil, what are you laughing at? With an indifferent killing intent in his eyes, Obito under the mask looked a little annoyed. What is he laughing at? Even Itachi was a little overwhelmed by Hachiken's smile. He didn't know how difficult the tough enemy in front of him was. But what is the reason for laughing in this situation? You said you were Uchiha Madara. Bajian shook his head, suddenly feeling a little dull. Holding the bottle and taking a sip, he lightly patted Itachi on the shoulder. Come on, tell him who Uchiha Madara is. Who is Uchiha Madara? When he heard this sentence, Obito snorted coldly and clearly misunderstood. It seems that it is useless for him to reveal Madara's name in front of a group of little ghosts. Those who have not experienced that era simply do not understand what the 4 words Uchiha Madara mean. Unexpectedly, Itachi started the story in front of him. Uchiha Madara, the head of the Uchiha clan during the Sengoku period. Joining with the Senju clan to bring down the troubled world, one of the founders of Konoha. Itachi said calmly, finally defected to Konoha, fought with the original Hokage in the Valley of the End, and was killed by Senju Hashirama. Hehe, I didn't expect anyone to remember me. Obito gave a cooperating deep smile. It seems that at this moment, he is the veritable Uchiha Madara who is being told. Shish. And Bajian stretched out his index finger and let out a soft hiss to break the opponent's illusion. This is the Uchiha Madara he knows. Would you like to hear what I know? For example, Madara didn't actually die in the Valley of the End. Another example, he has been making some seemingly stupid plans for peace. What does this kid know? Obito looked at Yi Bajian coldly. At this moment, his killing intent had reached its peak. The Uchiha Madara in my mind would never wear a mask and shout that he is Uchiha Madara. There's no need for someone like that to do things on tiptoe, if you're really Uchiha Madara. Up Zanpakuto, Hachiken pointed at Obito, put down the mask and show me. Drop the mask and show me. The boy's loud voice made Obito tremble with anger. For the first time, he was demolished under the name Madara. And the person who demolished the platform is still the kid. Just an arrogant brat. He must die. Not that he exposed his Uchiha Madara name, but because of what he knew, Obito was a little creepy. This is no ordinary kid. Without unnecessary nonsense, Obito's body dashed straight towards Yabajian. The Eye of the Moon plan is an absolutely secret matter. Even Nagato and the others didn't know the real content of the Moon Eye's plan, and what he knew in front of him made him have to take action. Come yet. Eight Swords took a deep breath and squeezed Zanpakuto tightly. Enrage Obito. It's not to pretend to be coercive. In fact, there is no one around to witness him pretending to be coercive. It was Obito, who pretended to be a force under the name of Uchiha Madara, which made him very uncomfortable. Especially such an unprovoked attack is enough to show how mad Obito has become. He asked himself, he didn't provoke the other party, but the attack still came. In addition to the attacked counterattack, Bajian also confirmed one thing. All know, most of Obito's abilities come from his Kamui. It is a time-space ninjutsu that can completely avoid damage. Before being attacked, it hides its body in Kamui space to avoid damage. Headache ability. Wanted to test was whether his attack could cause damage to Obito, the master space ninjutsu. This point is very important. If he succeeds, Obito will be especially afraid of him in the future. If he fails, the person in front of him will intensify his designs. You also deserve to be called Uchiha Madara. Zanpakuto pointed at Obito far away, and Bajian suddenly let out a roar. Swish. What's the use of talking more? Only fighting is the best way to understand each other's abilities. Watching Obito only revealed the killing intent on a Sharingan. The most incomprehensible thing for Bajian is that it was you who attacked me, and now you are still angry. What's the point? Sword pressure. Just like the name of the move. Zaraki Kenpachi's most effective attack method, crushing others with soul power. With the golden light slashing towards Obito from top to bottom, a devastating light, the Jinchuriki column, descended from the sky. Although it is a tentative attack, the lethality caused by Reiatsu, which is more mysterious than chakra, is extremely terrifying. Enemy is Obito, and Yi Bajian has no intention of holding back. Unlike Orochimaru, this is someone who really wants to kill himself. The ground shook suddenly, and the sword smashed into the ground, leaving a trace several meters deep. However, Obito's forward body did not stop for half a minute, and it seemed that he did not receive any damage. Space ninjutsu is really tricky. His eyes, Bajian rushed up to Obito's head and slashed flatly. As expected, Zanpakuto swiped Obito's head and touched nothingness. Obito, who flew past Bajian's head, had a successful smile in his eyes, and one hand was already close to the back of Bajian's heart. Die, kid. Die in this false world. ... Ask for a ticket. Chapter 40. The figure standing in front of him, the blooming Tomo. Sharingan. Known as the Eye of the Soul. In the evolution of Sharingan, there will always be pain. Therefore, the people of the Uchiha clan are known as the Evil Clan. This name was originally left by the second generation of Konoha Hokage Senju Tobarama, the evil family. But if you think about it from another angle, isn't this pair of eyes because of the unforgettable pain when you lost your dearest love? Experience the pain, master the strength. This is the Uchiha family. And the pupil art awakened by the evolution of Sharingan to a certain extent, often takes care of the mind of the owner of the eye. Just like the ability of Obito in front of him. He denies this world, does not admit that this world is real, he wants to create another world. So Hitomi Kamui appeared. Itachi, who is not far behind the Eight Swords, has no desire to ponder the origin and function of the Eye of Spiritual Portrayal. When he saw the masked man stretch his hand to the back of Bajian, he instinctively felt that his eyes began to hurt. His heart was shaking violently. Jien sang. A loud roar from behind made Obito and Bajian stunned. But the fight continues. When Obito's hand was about to succeed, the boy's body suddenly tilted, and the line of the sword in his hand instantly changed and slashed behind him. This kid. Flash of anger flashed in his eyes, and Obito turned on his body again, making the attack of the Eight Swords fail. Turning, glaring at Uchiha Itachi, Obito took a deep breath. It seems that he is someone you hold dear. Undoubtedly, he credited the screaming Itachi for Hachiken's reaction and counterattack. As a senior of the Uchiha clan, let me help you. Let you see how ridiculous this family is. The battle begins again. At this moment, Obito got serious. Although a bit ridiculous, he describes himself as Uchiha Madara, but he has to take a little devil seriously. But he didn't want to really touch the terrifying knife light just now. Figure shuttle. The sword-wielding boy seemed to have entered the rhythm, and the Eight Swords, who had really entered the fighting state, let out a roar like an evil spirit. Zanpakuto in his hand shook everything around him every time he swiped. At this moment, what is wrapped around his knife is not the familiar chakra, but a heart-pounding power. Soul energy called Reiatsu. Sword sang. His eyes stinged, but Itachi couldn't take care of that much anymore, and the shuriken in his hand was ready to fire the Eight Swords at any time. He knew that he couldn't help rashly at this time, otherwise it would disrupt the rhythm of the person who was fighting. Teammate is not a fight, the reason is this. A little bit more. The track, we have to see it clearly. The battle continued, the difference was that Itachi had red eyes on the sidelines, and a line of blood and tears gathered together and slowly flowed down. He is seeing a certain pattern. And on the field. Sticking to his beliefs, the boy kept swinging the knife. He even had the illusion that this battle was a practice. Yes. He was swinging the knife all the time. The more he swings the knife, the stronger he will be. A simple flat cut made Uchiha Obito no chance to strike at all. Often the moment when he was about to make a move to become a real body, the boy would catch that point by coincidence and counterattack. Obito, dismissing this timing as entirely coincidental. Because Kamui's existence is only known to him. At least now, he has not felt Kakashi use the pupil of the other eye. So, Kamui's so-called weakness could never be seen by a kid. But this deadlock was broken by a cry the next moment. Jien sang. Although I don't know how he can do this unbridled incarnation of his body, if I'm not wrong, the source of all this power is his eyes. Mangekyo Sharingan is one level closer than Tomo Sharingan, the third. I haven't found the law for the time being, but what is certain is that when he really wants to launch an attack, he must be converted into an entity. So, taking a deep breath, Itachi calmed down. Just grab this and you can attack him. Even in extremely disadvantaged situations, he can still judge the situation calmly. And give the most direct analysis. This is Uchiha Itachi. Innate fighting talent. A well-deserved genius. Uchiha's little devil. Obito in battle is the fleeting surprise. Not long after the battle started, the opponent had already figured out how to attack him effectively. Genius. There is also a tacit understanding between the two. A flash, Obito seemed to think of the scene when he and Kakashi went to rescue Rin perfectly. Seeing them is like seeing who you were. Thinking of Kakashi's words in front of my memorial tablet again, an emotion called anger made Obito's figure instantly accelerate, holding kunai in his hand, and stab the boy in front of him fiercely. The so-called friendship, the so-called fetters do not exist. This world is full of falsehoods, and only destruction is the only way to save the world. Puff. The voice of bitterness is clearly audible. Uchiha boy that Obito expected in front of his eyes did not appear. A not-so-tall figure stood in front of him, and his kunai was tightly pinched by the opponent's hand. Sword sang. Tears of blood continued to flow. When two mysterious tomo appeared in Itachi's pupils. The boy's voice followed. When attacked, it transforms into an entity, that's how it should be. The low voice did not know sorrow or joy. Itachi, the chance is good. He turned his head and gave the other party a smile, and Bajian waved the knife with one hand. Seize the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the golden light flashed again. Swish. A howl. The arm that pierced kunai flew into the sky. Uchiha Madara, his hand is broken. ...